you this morning, ladies and gentlemen, Senator Bernie Sanders.
Well, let me begin by thanking the New Hampshire AFL-CIO for inviting me to be with you today. And I've had this honor of being with you on a number of occasions over the years. Let me thank Glenn for his great work. We worked together, as some of you know, in the Fairpoint strike, where Fairpoint brought forth an extremely unfair proposal package, and the IBEW and the CWA fought back, and I was proud to be on the picket lines here in New Hampshire and in Vermont in support of the workers who are fighting the unfair contract. Also thank each of you for what you're doing every day in standing up for working people, in engaging in collective bargaining so that working people can have decent wages and decent working conditions. And today, on a Labor Day, we also remember the struggles of workers and their unions going way back when. And today we say thank you to the trade union movement for giving us the 40-hour work week. Yeah. Thank you for fighting for worker safety on the job. Thank you to fighting against discrimination in the workforce. Thank you for Social Security. Thank you for Medicare. Thank you for Medicaid. Every worker in America owes a deep down gratitude to the American trade union movement. As many of you know, our campaign for president is seeing in New Hampshire, in Iowa, and all across this country a great deal of energy and a great deal of enthusiasm. We started off our campaign by holding rallies where a few hundred people were coming out. We thought that was pretty good, but over a short period of time, that few hundred expanded to a few thousand, and in some cases to tens of thousands of people who were coming out. We started off this campaign with a few volunteers from the state of Vermont. Now we've got 100,000 volunteers in 50 states in this country who are passing out literature, making phone calls. This campaign with very little money, and now we have more individual contributors than any other campaign out there. Now, you're looking at a candidate, let me be honest with you on this. We're going to be outspent in this campaign. I do not have a super PAC. I do not want a super PAC. Never taken campaign contributions from corporations. I don't want their money because I don't represent their interests. I am very proud to tell you that while we don't have a super PAC, we don't have big money billionaires putting money into our campaign, we do have 400,000 Americans making individual contributions, and I am honestly very proud to tell you that that average contribution is all of $31.20. This is a people's campaign, and we will win this campaign or lose this campaign based on the support we are getting from working people and based on what I can see so far we're going to win this election. Now, often I am asked by the media, and they say, you know, Bernie, why is your campaign generating this much excitement and enthusiasm and large turnouts? And my answer is pretty simple and straightforward. And that is that the American people are sick and tired of establishment politics. They are sick and tired of establishment economics. They understand that today almost all of the new income and wealth being created is going to the top 1%, and the American people are saying enough is enough. We need an economy for working families, not just for billionaires. Brothers and sisters, we live in the wealthiest nation in the history of the world. But very few people in America understand that or know it or feel it, because almost all of the new income and wealth are going to a handful of very, very wealthy people. So let me be clear with you in saying that when you have the top 1/10 of 1% owning almost as much wealth as the bottom 90%, when you have one family, the Walton family of Walmart, owning more wealth than the bottom 40% of the American people, when you have seen in recent years a proliferation of millionaires and billionaires, when you got all of that, what we have got to do together is address this grotesque level of income and wealth inequality, and we have got to create an economy that works for all of us and not just the people on top. In the last 30 years, since 1985, there has been a massive redistribution of wealth in America. You know, Republicans often get very nervous when you talk about redistribution of wealth, right? They start, shaking. But the truth is, there has been a massive redistribution of wealth in the last 30 years. The problem is, it has gone in the wrong direction. What you have seen is trillions of dollars leaving the hands of working families and ending up in the pockets of the top 1/10 of 1%. And what we have got to do together is to change that flow. We have got to create a situation where there is more wealth and income in the middle class and less wealth and income in the top 1/10 of 1%. And when we talk about our economy, let's be very clear that at a time of massive income and wealth inequality, the wealthiest people and largest corporations in this country are going to have to start paying their fair share of taxes. It is not acceptable to me that large corporations can stash billions of dollars in profits in the Cayman Islands and in Bermuda and not pay in a given year a nickel in federal taxes. It is not acceptable to me, as Warren Buffett reminds us, that some of the wealthiest people in this country have an effective tax rate lower than firemen or nurses. We need a fair tax system in this country which says to the billionaire class, this country has enormous needs. You are going to start paying your fair share of taxes. You are going to accept your responsibilities as Americans. And when talk about the economy, it is not just the grotesque level of income and wealth inequality. It is the fact that throughout this country, millions of people are working longer hours for lower wages. It is about the fact that in my state of Vermont and here in New Hampshire, it is not uncommon for people to have to work 2 or 3 jobs to cobble together some income and some health care. And the reason for that, the reason that people are working longer hours, and in some cases not making enough money to feed their kids, is that for many Americans, wages in this country are just too damn low. And let us be very clear. The minimum wage, the federal minimum wage of $7.25 an hour is a starvation wage. We've got to raise the minimum wage to a living wage, $15 an hour over the next several years. Brothers and sisters, it is not a radical idea to say that when somebody works 40 hours a week, that person should not be living in poverty. It is not a radical idea to say that every working person in this country should earn enough income to take care of their kids, to feed their kids, and not have to go to an emergency food shelf. We need to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour over the next few years. Say something else to you. You know, my Republican colleagues talk about family values a lot. Well, my values, as somebody who has 4 kids, 7 grandchildren, have been married 27 years, my family values are a little bit different than theirs. And let me tell you how. If elected president, I will end the international embarrassment of the United States of America being the only major country on earth that does not guarantee paid family and medical leave. Family values are about the fact that when a woman has a baby, regardless of her income, she should be able to stay home with that baby for the months she needs in order to get to know that baby, bond with that baby. That's a family value. Separating that mother from her baby, forcing her to go back to work after 1 week, after 2 weeks, after she gave birth, that is not a family value. That is the opposite of a family value. We need paid family and medical leave. And by the way, we also need to end the international embarrassment of being the only major country on earth that does not have guaranteed paid sick time and guaranteed paid vacation time for every worker in the country. Now, running for president, when you run for president, one of the fun things is you can raise issues that many people would prefer not to talk about. So let me mention a couple of them. Number 1, jobs report just came out the other day, as it does every month, and it tells us that official unemployment is 5.1%. But there is another government statistic which often does not get a lot of media attention. And that statistic includes those people who are unemployed, who are underemployed, working 20 hours when they want to work 40 hours, or have given up looking for work entirely. Real unemployment is over 10% in America. And let me tell you something else that nobody talks about, and that is the tragedy of youth unemployment in this country. I asked for a study about 6 weeks ago, and this is what the study told us from a very good economic think tank. For high school graduates, listen to this, high school graduates between 17 and 20 years of age who graduated high school, Real unemployment for the kids who are white, 33%. Hispanic kids, 36%. African American kids, 51%. We have 5.5 million young people in this country who don't have jobs, who are not in school. They're hanging out on street corners in Manchester, New Hampshire, and Burlington, Vermont, and all over this country. And if anyone thinks that this outrageously high rate of youth unemployment is not connected to the fact that we have more people in jail than any other country, you would be sorely mistaken. In my view, and I believe this from the bottom of my heart, it makes a lot more sense for us to be investing in jobs and education rather than jails and incarceration. This great country should not lead the world in the number of people who are in jail. We should lead the world in having the best educated population on earth. I think a good start forward in putting people to work is to rebuild our crumbling infrastructure, our roads, our bridges, water systems, wastewater plants, airports, rail. Putting $1 trillion over a 5-year period into rebuilding our infrastructure will create 13 million decent paying jobs, and that is what I intend to do. And when we talk about jobs, it's not only creating millions of decent paying jobs, it is preventing the loss of millions of jobs as a result of our disastrous trade policies. You are looking at a senator and a former congressman who voted against NAFTA, CAFTA, and permanent normal trade relations with China. And you're looking at a U.S. senator who will help lead the effort to defeat this disastrous Trans-Pacific Partnership. That since 2001, we have lost in this country 60,000 factories and millions of good-paying jobs. It's hit New Hampshire, it's hit Vermont, it's hurt virtually every state in this country. Now, not all of that is attributable to trade, that's true, but a lot of it is. And you all know that what these trade policies are about, written by corporate America, is to give them the capability of shutting down plants in this country, moving to cheap labor nations all over the world, and bringing their products back into this country. And what we have got to tell corporate America now, and this is long overdue, is if you want us to continue purchasing the products you make, you'd better start building and manufacturing those products here in America, not in China, not in Mexico, and not in other low-wage countries.